Joining us today, I've got Dr. Eric Benson. He is an entomology extension specialist with Clemson University. Thanks for taking time out of your day, Dr. Benson, to talk with us about the elusive cicadas that we're quote unquote hearing a lot about here recently.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot more come April and May when we have billions of them emerge and the males start singing their love song to the females.
So the noise we're hearing typically is always the males?
Yes, the males chorus together and call the females over to mate. And we hear it every year because there's ones that come out every year, but this is a unique group of cicadas called 13-year periodical cicadas, or the Great Southern Brood.
Okay, so let's a quick little education on what cicadas are and kind of a little bit of the history behind them.
Cicadas have been in South Carolina, in North America, since the beginning of time, basically. They are related to things like aphids and stink bugs and such, but they're their own group, over 150 species, very diverse group, very large insect. A lot of cicadas can get up to close to 2 inches in length, which is large for a bug.
It is large for a bug.
They have piercing, sucking mouth parts. They don't have chewing mouth parts. They spend a large percentage of their life underground, feeding on things like the roots of trees. But eventually they emerge out of the ground, shed their skin, and many people see their cast skins on the sides of trees or houses or cars or wherever. They sprout their wings, fly up in the trees. Males call the females. Females come over, they mate. Females lay their eggs. Once they're fertilized, all the adults die. The eggs hatch out, and the next generation usually falls to the ground to start the whole process over.
And when was the last time that they were seen in South Carolina?
Well, the Great Southern Brood last emerged in 2011, and I remember back then saying, I don't know if I'll be around in 2024, but here I am. We spent a lot of time mapping that brood in 2011. Others have done it as well. And so it's been 13 years. And so here we are in 2024, and maybe I'll see you in 2037. I don't know.
Now, this particular emergence that we're going to have here in the spring, sometime around the springtime, is a little more unique than just a singular emergence of the 13-year brood, correct?
That's correct, because there are multiple broods throughout the United States, especially the eastern part of the United States. And every year, a certain brood may be emerging. So our brood is brood 19. They're 13-year periodical cicadas. There's going to actually be another brood, the Southern Illinois brood. It's brood number 8. And they are 17-year periodical cicadas. But not since Thomas Jefferson was president has brood 19 and brood 8 emerged in the same year. So we're going to have cicadas all through the Southeast, all up into the Midwest.
So all around where we are here in Greenville County, there will be cicadas in the springtime at some point, is what we're expecting.
It's spotty, yes, but our tracking in 2011, most of the emergences were in the upstate. So let's just say kind of Columbia north up through the mountains of South Carolina into Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, but mostly the northern western part of the state, the upstate, essentially. And it's not a uniform distribution because depending on land development, if in the last 13 years, the trees have been cut down and a big parking lot went in, you're not going to have cicadas at that location. So it tends to be more spotty. Places that are great places to see these cicadas, especially in the upstates, are places like state parks or protected forest land that has not been clear cut in recent years. So usually the more natural settings is where you're going to see them.
And then what are we thinking about? I mean, obviously the timing is, you can get a rough idea, but it probably has a lot to do with weather and temperature and things like that. But what do we expect in the perfect weather scenario?
A lot of the older records would say early May, but more recent records mid-April. And in 2011, we started to get records in around April 11th. And again, it depends on the weather conditions, other factors, but I would say early to mid-April and through mid-May, we actually had a few emergencies in early June. So for us, that April, May is probably the main window. And then in other parts of the Southeast or in the Midwest, that time frame could shift because obviously there's climatic differences and other differences.
Okay. And I guess what can we let people know? How can we educate people and what to expect from this co-emergence? What are they going to experience and how long may it stick around for?
Well, at first, if they're in your area, you're going to see a lot of pretty large bugs crawling up out of the ground, though they usually do it at night. And they're usually sort of hidden or cryptic about it. And they'll slowly emerge out of their what we call their nymphal shell, their immature stage. Though it's going to take them a day or two, and then they're going to fly up into the trees. And a few days later, the males will start singing. And usually it's when the males start singing, because instead of a few dozen here or there, which we're used to with our annual cicadas in the summertime, you have millions or even billions singing, and it is quite loud. I've done some recordings in the past. There are other recordings you can hear, and it's pretty amazing when they're chorusing.
And how long might we see the process?
Usually a few weeks. The orgy will last a few weeks. And so it peaks, and then after the females, as many as can be, will be mated, they'll start the egg laying process. And then the insects, the adults, will start to die, and they'll obviously die in very large numbers. It's nature recycling. So again, there's nothing to be concerned about. They don't hurt people. The damage that they do to plants for the most part is minimal. They don't hurt pets. They've been doing it since, again, before recorded time. They're a great indicator of biodiversity and environmental health in an area. So I personally, obviously, I'm a bug nerd, but I think it's a good thing when they emerge and do their things. And it's pretty special. You know, most bugs don't live a real long time. So considering we're talking about an insect that lives 13 years under the ground and then emerges in the hundreds, the thousands, or the millions, almost all on the same day, is mind-boggling to me.
It is mind-boggling. And I think when people start to understand this capacity of it, that it's been around for this long, and just it's a small window when they're going to be here.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're talking 6 weeks, two months. Now, if you were to travel, you know, and you went, we have cicada chasers, like they're storm chasers. There will be people that will track them and chase them and to sort of prolong the season for them. But it is pretty special. And that's another thing. So most of the people in 2011, when we last tracked these, either weren't here, they live someplace else, like Colorado, say, or they just forgot. And so it is pretty special to have the party once every 13 years. So again, we won't have this conversation until 37.
And I hope to have this conversation again. That would be wonderful. Anything else we can let the people know about the cicadas, about what's coming our way, or?
I would say don't worry about them. I would say enjoy them. There's a lot of good information on the internet. I would stick to places like Clemson University or some of the other, maybe university sites, but there's a wealth of information and about all the broods. We're just talking about our brood, but there's multiple broods throughout the whole Eastern US.
All right. I think that's going to wrap this up. I appreciate your time today. Once again, Clemson University entomologist, extension specialist, Dr. Eric Benson. Thank you, sir.